this morning. Well, there's a lot happening in the banking sector, and that's of course where all the attention is being directed. Guaranty Trust Bank has announced that it's considering this proposal from the IFC to buy up to $30 million worth of new shares in a private placement. What do you make of that news?
Morning, Alishia. You're absolutely correct. The banking sector is completely dominating the performance of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Yesterday, the market was up, as you mentioned earlier, by 1.02%, and it was mainly driven by the banking sector that appreciated by 2.27%. So there's a lot of positivity coming out of the recent AMCON bill that was signed by the president, and we expect that to continue in at least the medium to long term. As you mentioned, IFC is very much interested in taking a $30 million private placement equity stake in GTB, and understandably so. GTB to run banks in the country. They have a very robust management team. Their performance numbers have been very impressive, over the last few years. I think they came out through the global financial crisis. You can even say they came out stronger. So our expectation is that IFC is particularly interested in holding this equity stake in GTB. And what GTB has said is that they're going to convene a board meeting, a shareholder meeting, where they would discuss and consider IFC's proposal.
Yeah, well, GTB, along with First Bank, has highlighted that it's in talks with several others, about possibly looking at acquisitions down the line, and that is where everybody is pretty anxious at the moment. It's around where acquisitions are going to be made, who's going to be bought by who. What route do you see GTB specifically taking moving forward, focusing on an organic growth strategy or more so on acquisitions and building up its muscle that way?
Yeah, I think GTB is particularly more interested in continuing its organic growth strategy. I think it's been quite successful for them over the last few years. However, I believe that the bank would also continue to look for bargains. So that is why it's particularly useful for them to look to raise additional capital, whether it's through IFC or through the bond offering that they recently did in 2009. If you remember, GTB as well also raised the $350 million Euro bond in 2007 for 5 years. So we expect the bond to mature in the next year and a half, 2 years or so. So yes, they need some additional capital to participate in either an organic growth strategy or look for acquisitions, but there are definitely opportunities out there for them.
What certainly got my attention yesterday was some of the data revealed by the Next Rubica Index. Of course, this looking at some of the top performing stocks in Africa, excluding South Africa, for the week that was last week. And if you look at the biggest gainers there, we've got Oceanic Bank right at the top with its 11% gain, Union Bank following close after that, Intercontinental Bank as well, and First Bank of Nigeria. So it's really these Nigerian players that have seemed to dominate some of the African players as a whole.
Correct, Alishia. What we've seen is that because the likes of Oceanic, Union, and the banks that really didn't cross the CBN audit hurdle are more at the targets of the acquisition, plus the AMC that focus on them. A lot of them provide good value. If you take a Union Bank, for example, Union Bank has been in existence for close to a century, and they have a huge branch network. The same thing with Oceanic as well. Their huge branch network obviously would provide an attractive opportunity for banks that are looking to acquire. And what the CBN has done is, part of this, the structure of the AMC bill and the additional capital that would be injected into the company would help to close the hole. So, it's a different ball game now. The banks are suddenly starting to look very attractive for the acquirers in the market. And I'm sure, at least in the medium term, we'll continue to see these banks do quite well.